Hey everyone, it's Jenny from the WoW Creative team. I'm excited today. I only have one card in today's video, but I am using all of WoW's product lines on it today. I don't think there's any rules when it comes to card making, but I do have a tendency to just use foil or just use glitter or just use embossing on a card when I'm creating, and today I decided to throw caution to the wind and use all three of them on one card. So I'm going to show you how I created it. I'm going to start off with some foil, and believe it or not, this is going to be a relatively clean and simple card. I'm going for shades of blue on my card today, so I'm starting off with the Teal Fab Foil, which is the foil line carried by WoW. And for ways to adhere it, there are a few different ways. I'm going to use WoW's bonding powder. This is something that you apply a little bit like embossing powder, and any of the foil that you apply to it, when you apply heat, will stick to it. So it's a really good way of actually foiling your stamped images. The stamps that I'm using today is a recently released set from Gina Designs called Love Conquers. It's got this gorgeous giant scripty sentiment in it. This features the calligraphy or brush script from Emily Loggins, who I just absolutely love this font, and it takes up the entire front panel of an A2 size card. So I've grabbed a 4¼ by 5½ inch panel of WoW embossing cardstock, and I'm using my MISTI just so I could do a double stamp of WoW embossing ink, and then I'm going to call it heat emboss, but this is embossing it with WoW bonding powder. So you apply it just like embossing powder, and when you heat it up, it melts very quickly, and you want to heat it until it's just melted and no more. Do not overheat it, just as much until it literally just turns shiny. I'm doing this in real time so you can see exactly how long it took me to heat it, and I did actually heat my heat tool up off camera for about a minute or so, and I have it on setting 2, so you can see that's not a very long amount of time at all for me to emboss or melt that powder. It's hard to see on white cardstock, but I promise you it is there. I also used my powder tool just to make sure I didn't get any bonding powder sticking where I didn't want it. I'm now going to take my super sharp scissors. These are fabric scissors. They're very sharp and they're great for cutting foil without catching or dragging it. And I'm just going to cut a piece of foil just the size that I need, place it over my panel, and then I'm going to apply heat by using my Mink machine. You can also use a laminator, you can use an iron, fold some paper over the top on cloth and just apply the heat that way. Or you can even use your heat tool. If you use your heat tool, it will be a little bit more distressed than using the other two methods. And then I'm just going to use one of the Mink plastic sheets just to place my stamped image with the foil over the top inside, and then run it through the Mink. I use setting 3. That's just the one that works for me, but you could experiment if you've got that, or a laminator. And then when I lift it off, you can see that sentiment is perfectly foiled. The foil has adhered. It does have a tendency, using the Mink, to squish the powder down slightly, so it's not quite as fine as an image as you get when you stamp it initially, but particularly for a sentiment like this, it's not noticeable at all. If you do get some stray foil from overfoiling, that's because I cut the foil bigger than my stamp. You can easily remove it without any damage to the cardstock using a sand eraser or even just a normal eraser. I like this mono sand eraser, or the mono, can't remember exactly what it's called, but the tiny little one. That's really good for getting in some of those smaller areas if you've got overfoiling, and it just lifts it off, and you'll never know that there was any extra foil there. I'm going to add some branches around the corners just to sort of frame out that sentiment, and the branches and leaves that I'm using are from the Kindness frame, also by Gina Designs. That's from an older release. And I was going to stamp 4, and then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go for the 2. I'm using an acrylic block just to catch them where I wanted them. On the panel, I have applied powder tool all the way around the edge, and then I'm going to heat emboss them with Glassy Ocean. This is a translucent pale blue colour. It's really pretty, and it's a very different shade to that teal foil, but it coordinates really well, almost like an ombre look. And I'm going to put some of that up in the top left and a branch down in the bottom right. I have applied my powder tool, as I mentioned, so that I don't get any of the embossing powder sticking where I don't want it. I'm applying my heat tool, which I've heated off camera, and I didn't notice any problems with reheating that foil once it's been applied. I would be somewhat cautious. I'm looking forward to actually trying to do some maybe heat embossing over foil. May end up with a complete mess, I don't know, but it's something I haven't tried, and I'm going to be attempting it on a later card. So I've set that to one side, and this time I'm going to be adding some glitter. So to create my background panel, I'm taking a panel of 110 pound cardstock and applying double-sided adhesive all over the top of it. This is from Elizabeth Craft Designs. You can also get Be Creative sheets. I think Stick It as well. Anything would work, but you need to have really good, strong, double-sided adhesive for this. And I've applied it all over the top, and I'm going to peel off that backer. So I have a super sticky panel of cardstock here. I'm then going to take a scrap piece of copy paper just to protect my work surface and act as something that will catch all the excess glitter so I can funnel it back in the pot so there's very little wasted. And I'm going to use Twinklebelle. This is a sparkles glitter from Wow, and it's got tons of chunky bits of holographic glitter in it. It's got a really pretty pale blue background colour, and it coordinates perfectly with that teal foil and the Glassy Ocean embossing powder. I'm shaking it all over the entire panel, knocking it off into that copy paper, and then this is my first go of funneling off some of the excess. So I'm going to funnel this off, and I wasn't very careful. I did kind of get it all over my work surface, but that's okay because I've got a good way to clean this up at the end. Ideally, I don't like to waste any glitter, but it was a bit of an accident. Now, you want to make sure that glitter is pushed into that adhesive because you don't want the recipient to get it and it shed everywhere. So I like to use some of that release paper, apply it over the top. This is a trick I learned from Jennifer Maguire, and then rub it all over with my bone folder just on top of the copy paper again. And you'll see that removes quite a lot of the excess. You can also use your finger to rub some of it in as well. And in the end, what you get is a gorgeous, almost velvety, glittered piece of DIY glitter cardstock. And to clean it up at the end, I use a little Swiffer cloth, another tip from Jennifer Maguire. It's amazing for cleaning up glitter. It works so well. Now you need some good double-sided tape again to add on the panel onto the front. And I've trimmed down that panel to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, leaving that 1/4 inch border all around the outside edge. If you really wanted to save some of that glitter cardstock, you could use a die to cut a rectangle in the centre and save it. And that way you would have that border without losing all of that glitter behind your white panel. And then just to add a little bit of embellishment without too much bling, I'm using some Nuvo crystal drops. I think these are in Duck Egg, which is a super pale grey blue. And I just added those onto the branches. And I just love that sheen that you get with the foil when it catches the light. It's absolutely gorgeous. And the sparkle glitter as well. Just really, really pretty card. And that finishes my project for today. Be sure to check out the other videos on the Wow channel. There's loads to see, and have a wonderful day. Bye.